Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Is This a Ghost? I'm Clayton Smith, and every single week I tell a real ghost story from real history to my real friend Patrick Dean, who doesn't take it real seriously, but who's got a real big drink tonight.
Oh yeah, the biggest. A pint of. Oh, this is the old harried father here.
Oh, it's that time of the month.
A little bit of a lime I found in the back of the fridge. A little bit of a warm LaCroix from the basement, and a whole bunch of Navy strength.
Well, it's 10 days away from payday, so that's not a good sign for you. Oh, that Navy strength is good, though, huh?
So smooth. It is.
Man, it is so dangerous.
Everything I found in the fridge mixed together.
Got some pickle juice. Got some meat drippings. I got some gin, I think, in there.
Yeah, you want to get real heavy with the ice on this one, guys. Just you want to take as much of the taste out.
Yeah. As cold as possible. If you could actually freeze the whole thing and just chip it into your mouth, that's going to be the best way to go. Slide it right down. Oh, man. So we're recording on a Wednesday, which is atypical for us. We've been pretty busy. We've been busy boys. How's your week been?
It's been okay. We're getting a bunch of landscaping work done out front. It's exciting.
Did you get to, what's the deal with that pipe that exploded a few months ago? Have they covered that?
They fixed that? Yep.
Okay.
The water company gave us poured a bunch of new concrete. That was great. And now we're getting the rest of the landscaping done to make that not look as make the one nice thing out front not look as much like a sore thumb as it did before.
It is always so bad when they do one rectangle of sidewalk. They're like, well, this one's gonna look real great.
Yeah.
Now these over here, these are tobacco stained for reasons we don't really understand and cracked to shit. It's gonna look real weird.
This one here is bulging by 6 inches. This one is just missing. We're not really sure where that one went. And this one was stolen. Yeah, so that was
just gone.
Yeah, it's just gone. But no, we're getting everything kind of brought up to the same level of quality ish.
That's nice. Well, you're outside of St. Louis City, obviously. So when we were in St. Louis in the city, we in our house, we had a tree-lined street, an old tree-lined street. So the trees were just huge and therefore had big roots. And the sidewalk in front of our house, I don't know if you remember, had
big
lifted.
Yes.
One of the, totally out, it's at a 45-degree angle.
Yeah.
It's very dangerous.
Very much a ramp. It's a ramp at that point.
It's a ramp at that point.
It's an exciting ramp. Yeah.
And so eventually Erin went on, she found this place on the St. Louis website where you can report things like that to be fixed. And this was in fall of 2019. She goes onto the website and she fills out the whole paperwork and submits it. And she gets an automatic note. It's actually, someone has already reported this in fall of 2016. So we're on it. It's
no need to remind us. We are on it.
Okay. And they wouldn't let us submit a new request, even though it had been 3 years and they had not fixed it. And then, we moved out of there in 22. Still not fixed. So
I'll go check on it one of these days. I'll see what's
drive
going
by.
on
Let me know. Let me know how it looks.
Yep.
Just great. Your tax dollars at work, Frylock. Man. You watching the DNC at all?
I'm not watching the DNC. I feel like it's watching a commercial for a product I already own. I'm gonna buy the vacuum. I don't have to keep watching the vacuum commercial.
Yeah. So that makes sense. Now I will say, last night was triple threat. They had Dougie Fresh did a talk, and then Michelle, and then Barack, and Jesus Christ. And
then
what a fucking try. Go ahead.
And you're not even mentioning the biggest guest of the night.
AOC.
Lil Jon.
Oh, turn down for what? I've watched that clip so many times. It is just so exciting.
I'm confused why you didn't lead, but Lil Jon.
I have it in my notes for later. Actually, I was gonna that was gonna be the climax of the story, but you've ruined it.
That's fine.
No, that's obviously the best part of the whole thing so far. But I have not heard Doug Emhoff speak really until his speech that we watched last night. I think he's great. He is such a dork. And I love that. I feel so seen and represented. It's amazing.
And you got to be a pretty good sport. If you obviously marry into somebody in politics, and then, but you're thinking, okay, well, that's your thing. I'm an orthodontist or whatever, and you do politics.
What, an entertainment lawyer, I think?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the whole time
you're orthodontist of the legal world, for sure.
Right, sure, yeah. You do your thing, I do my thing. We come home at the end of the day, we trade interesting stories.
Totally.
Each have our own interests. But then your wife decides she wants to run for president, is doing pretty well, and they're like, hey, we need you to give a speech. And he's like, a speech. Okay. This was your thing, though. I mean, you're doing great.
I totally support you.
Really
so
support
happy
you.
to be second gentleman.
Yeah. But
speech.
Again, TV speech.
That's
good for him. Good.
Well,
for him.
he knocked it out of the park. But if you want, he's not a speaker,
right?
But he's just so darn cute.
You know who else I really feel for in this whole situation is Doug Emhoff's ex-wife.
Oh man!
Like, can you fucking imagine?
Speaking as a divorced person, no. Man, I'll tell you this. I think if I were running for office, I don't think Paula would extend that courtesy to Aaron. I just don't think so.
Oh man, like I know they talk about, oh well, we're very supportive. We're a team here, and Doug's ex-wife is super supportive. I'm like, yeah, I know she's super supportive because if she wasn't, she would have killed herself as soon as you became the front runner for the president.
Yeah,
of
there's
the
not
United
a lot
States.
of options here.
Yeah,
but man, I mean, God, I have so much respect for her because that has to be the hardest thing in the world.
Yeah.
But she's been steady and consistent, and the woman who's now married to my husband is great, and we get along well, and I hope she becomes president. And Jesus,
yeah, I'm just imagining that trip to like the psychiatrist. Like, maybe you just need to stop. Just kind of try and block her out of your life. What is her name again? Her name is Kamala Harris, so that's going to be hard.
It's funny. That's she has the same name. That's so strange. Like, what a coincidence.
As the lady president,
vice president. Yeah, that's a bad draw for her, for sure.
Yeah. So, a lot of Xanax. I'd imagine just
that prescription pad didn't stop flipping. Just script after script after script after script. Oh man. Well, do you want to hear a ghost story?
Love to.
We have a good one tonight. This one it was suggested by a listener named Casey.
Ooh.
So thank you, listener Casey, for suggesting.
Spelling of Casey? What's the spelling of Casey?
Letters? K-A-S-E-Y.
K-A-S-E. I know.
I'm sorry. Is it letters?
Right. Is it somebody who's spelled out their
numbers?
K-C. Oh, I mean, only. Yeah.
Sure.
Sorry. I could see in retrospect. Yes. Okay. I get your point.
It was confusing, and I've been concerned for you. If you smell toast at any point, please let me know so I can text Amy. So just do
delicious toast.
Check. Delicious toast. Listener Casey, thank you so much. This is a good one, and oh shoot, not prepared. Hold on a second. I got do some filler.
Try to just describe what you're doing right now.
You nailed it.
Awesome. Cool. It's very quiet.
Ding.
Dong. So quiet.
Oh yeah, hold on. I had turned it down because Maple came in while I was on a Zoom the other day and started pushing the buttons. I had to turn it way down. All right, I'll take it. Try it again. Ding, 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 dong. It's funny. And then so she played that sound actually, and then she was like, "Is one of those you?" And I said, "Yeah, one of them." And she goes, who's the other one? And I said, the other ones are Patrick. And she like dissected, like, which one is you? Which one is Patrick? And so I told her, I was like, so Patrick says ding, ding. And I say ding. And he says dong. And then for like 2 hours, Maple, like through dinner and into like bedtime, was like, Daddy, listen, Patrick says ding, ding. And then you say ding. And then Patrick says dong. I mean, she would not stop.
Daddy, you're not the straight man, right? You're like, you would tell me. You would tell me if you were the straight man in a comedy duo, right?
Oh, don't embarrass me, Daddy. Please, please. Anyway, so that sound does mean that it's time for the story. So here we go. Edgar R. Butterworth. If I had waited half a second longer, you'd have had a drink in your mouth.
I would. You'll get the timing down. You'll get it. We're only 100.
As I was saying it, I saw you lift the glass. I thought, I've screwed this up so bad.
Edward, wait for it. Oh,
so close.
Maybe Butterworth used to be a more popular surname. I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, the syrup comes from somewhere.
Right. Sure.
Now, I always thought that it was like a play on pancake toppings.
Right. Yeah. It's like make the butter worth it. Right.
Yeah.
But apparently this guy is probably not syrup based.
It did not come up in the research.
Okay. Fair.
And based on his complection, I don't think there's a relation. I don't know.
That's fine. Yeah. Well, we'll see if he's worth the butter by the time we're all done with this.
So, Edgar R. Butterworth was born in 1847 in Newton Upper Falls in Massachusetts.
Ooh.
His family was classic American classic.
Mm-hmm.
His grandfather served in the American Revolution. On the good side.
Well, yeah.
I guess they don't call it the American Revolution if you're on the bad side.
Yeah. And famously, most of those guys just went home after it was all said and done. So,
yeah, I guess that's true. Not a lot of them stuck around and had progeny. But this, it's like how the people in the South will sometimes still call the Civil War the War of Northern Aggression.
Sure.
I guess you don't call it the American Revolution if you lost.
Right. Yeah.
The War of American dipshittery or whatever.
The war of not fighting fair. That was what it was.
We were fighting real jerks.
Yeah. The war of hitting us with rocks from trees like dickheads.
The war of we didn't like it.
Every day during tea, shooting at us. Unbelievable.
They have no manners. No manners. So when Edgar was 10, his family moved to Minnesota, where his father worked as a millwright for 6 years. You know what a millwright does? I guess
they work at the mill, right?
I'm sorry I asked. All right.
Well.
Now this is a cool time to pick up and move to Minnesota for work because it was during the Sioux Wars.
So, all kinds of Sioux-veneers were available to you.
Oh, man. And then in 1861, of course, the Civil War breaks out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Edgar tried to enlist, but he was 14 years old. So they were like, I don't. And they were not picky. They would take people who were not actually 18, but
right.
14 is like, we don't have crayons. We don't have we can't, you're not going to color the other side to death. So they said no. Now, I don't know what happened to his father, but in 1863, the family moved back to Massachusetts and Edgar becomes the main breadwinner.
How old is he at this point?
16.
47. 16. Okay. No, it's about time.
Yeah, it's a little past due, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe his dad was fine. He's just like, finally, you're 16. I can relax.
Time for me to retire at age 34, and you get to do all this bullshit from now on.
Enjoy the golden years of my life, the last 3 years of my life, because it is 1863. So Edgar works as a hatter for a while. Mm-hmm. What do you know about the profession of hatter, other than they make hats?
Of haberdashery? I know quite a bit. I know many of them went quite mad. Quite
famously, really.
Famously mad. I guess that's probably the limit of it.
Do you know why they went mad?
It was some sort of chemicals for the curing of the hats or something like that.
I think it was lead related. I think they used to use lead as part of something. Mm-hmm. Now that I say this out loud, I should have Googled this before the podcast.
There's a step of this podcast where we kind of ask these questions and Google them.
Oh, mercury.
Mercury, not lead.
That's the one.
Mercury drives you a lot crazier than lead, by the way.
Way crazier. Ask Jeremy Piven.
Yeah.
Guy.
Lead makes you really, really disagreeable after about age 55, from my experience.
How is your dad?
Mercury makes you crazy as shit right from the gun. It's just.
Yeah, mercury nitrate was used to treat felt in order to toughen animal fur and make hats firmer.
Mm-hmm.
This process was called carroting.
Carroting. Okay.
Carroting. But this is Google's AI overview, so let's maybe it's true, but maybe not. Anyway,
that also sounds like maybe what one of the hatters had decided to call the process. Like after he'd been doing it for several years and like consuming unbelievable amounts of mercury.
As he's like trying to sew the hem with carrots.
This is called carroting. This is where we do the final carroting step where the carrots are carroted to the carrot. I'm sorry?
Someone call the doctor. I think there's something wrong with the hats. So he was a hatter for a while. So that probably wasn't, I don't know if it was that bad for him, but I bet it wasn't good. So he was a hatter until he decided to become a lawyer. Quote, okay. Despite a limited formal education.
I think we've gone over this on the show before. A lawyer was just the person in town that bought the book, I believe, was the rule.
That's exactly right. So a couple years later, then he marries Grace Whipple. Now, Grace has descended from a signer of the Declaration of Independence.
Oh, wow.
So she's also classic American. Mm-hmm. Now, Grace does die 2 years later after bearing a child whose name was Gilbert M. Butterworth.
Man. What kind of like Lemony Snicket villain is this?
Oh, God. So in 1873, Edgar and Gilbert moved to a little town called St. Louis, Missouri.
Hey.
Like so many people in the 1800s ended up in St. Louis for a while.
It was a bit of a hub there. No longer, but it was
a hub
now.
Pretty exciting, pretty busy.
Pretty much like a crater, I'll be honest. But, back then meteor hadn't come close to hitting this town yet. So, no. It was great.
No. So he moves to St. Louis in 1873, where he once again becomes a hatter. And just more of that mercury. Which again, I will say, not impossible then that you could go to an antique shop or a thrift store somewhere in St. Louis and find a hat made by Edgar Butterworth. I think it's worth a shot.
Mm-hmm. So you can find any old carrots inside of it, and if so, you're probably on the case.
You've ingested a lot of mercury that day. So he's in St. Louis, he's a hatter, and then he remarries. He marries a woman named Maria Gillespie. Now they scoot out west pretty quickly. They get out of St. Louis, and they move to Fort Scott, Kansas.
Oh, I know Fort Scott well.
Do you?
I do indeed. I have a
how?
I work with the company in Fort Scott. I have been there several times.
Yes. Would you like to describe it?
There is one diner in town. I do not remember the name of it. It is delicious.
But the New York Times is there constantly asking people what they feel about the economy.
There's one guy in a bar stool and it's a line of reporters. Like, can I use that quote or do I need to wait for you to say it a second time and attribute it?
Yeah, it seems like it's in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas, which to be fair is most of Kansas, but
super middle of nowhere. Yeah.
I just wonder, like, I don't know what brings you to Fort Scott, Kansas today. I guess there's obviously some industry there.
Some
bit, Like in the 1870s, like what the fuck is in Fort Scott? I mean, a fort, I assume. Maybe that's it. Maybe.
Yeah, the fort industry grows up around it. A lot of fort support activities.
Fort support.
Mm-hmm. Fort maintenance.
Sure. Fort planting.
Mm-hmm.
They're there for about a year or two, but then they're like, this is not right. This is a mistake. And they head down to the rangelands of Southwest Kansas, which is even more remote.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
We've taken a trip through the fucking rangelands of Kansas. I have never in my life been as bored as I was on our road trip. Once we left Lawrence,
right,
and until we got to the Rocky Mountains, Jesus Christ, There is not a single point in that many hour drive where if you put a marble on the road, it would roll anywhere. Not a single point. So they moved to Southwest Kansas, and Edgar then becomes a cattleman.
As you do. Sure.
You can do anything. You can do anything in the 19th century. Just be whatever you want. So he becomes a cattleman, and here's a quote. He also hauled the bones of dead bison 125 miles to the nearest railroad, where he received $10 per ton.
Hauling a ton of material.
Now, I want to break this down
miles. This is an unbelievable task.
There's so many elements here that I think we need to spend some time parsing through.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, the bones of dead bison, which I
imagine there's a lot of them. Right.
Yes. Now, I am curious, like, is he waiting until it's just bone? Is he going through and, like, pulling the gristle off the bone?
Sure. Yeah.
Like, that's more of a curiosity thing, not a logistics thing. But then 125 miles.
Oh, man.
With a literal ton of bison bones, and bones are not that heavy.
Right. Yeah. They're not super, super dense. Also, I mean, just to get into the kind of mechanics of it, I don't see them stacking well. I really don't. It's not.
No, you definitely have to, like, bundle them together, like tie like all the femurs together, and then tie the horns together, and you tie the other bones together.
And this teeny tiny bag here, just the little finger bones is all this is down here.
Little toesies in this bag. So what do you, and I'm so curious, and I should have looked this up, but I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think? Hello. What do you think bison bones are used for?
I'm wondering if this is tied to the classic trying to exterminate the bison to drive the Native Americans out. So and this is basically the government paying for the bones of bison to encourage more people to kill bison.
Why wouldn't you do like hides? Because bones are like, that's tough to get bones.
Okay, that's fair.
Either wait a long time or do a lot of hard work.
It's true. I don't know. What would bison bones be used for? Like a really cool fort, right?
I mean, that would. Sure. I mean, cards on the table. That would be a really cool fort.
But I mean,
I don't agree with it, but it would be a really cool fort.
But once you build that fort, I don't really know what else you do with the bones. I got to imagine a lot of people are in this trade.
I know. Second fort.
Okay, everyone gets their own fort. Okay, all right. Okay, I get that.
A little reductive, but still. So he's hauling the dead bones 125 miles a ton, and he receives $10 per ton. So I did the math. Would you like to guess how much $10 in 1873 is today?
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna hope it's like $1,000. I'm
gonna tell you, it's not as much as you'd like.
Oh no.
It's worth about $300.
Oh my God. $300 to haul a ton of bones.
Well, first to gather a ton of bones and then to haul a ton of bones 125 miles. And you got to go back 125 miles. This is a bad business plan. Actually feels like the government was like, okay, we've done the hide thing to make sure that we're, doing everything we can to wipe out the indigenous people. And, people are going to take the meat because they like the meat. But it does discourage growth to see just a bunch of bones everywhere.
Right.
Like, it would be nice if someone would clear them. Now, we don't have a lot of budget for this, but... surely there are people out there who will take $10 for, I don't know, how many pounds of bones? And one guy's like, what if we do a ton? And they're like, no.
No one will ever do that. No one's that dumb. Well, we'll try it. We can come down later.
We can always come down.
Yeah.
All right, we'll try it. Holy shit. It's working.
What do we do with all of these bones now?
$300 for a literal ton of not dense bones. I don't know how you transport that shit. Anyway, and here's so he's doing jobs, obviously. He's doing odd jobs. Yeah. He's a cattleman, he's a bone collector. And new quote, there on the plains of Kansas, he also had his first occasion to make a coffin.
Of bones?
I mean, if he's not doing that, he's really missing out on a cool opportunity.
Yeah. Eventually he's like, what if I'm sick of hauling them. I like collecting them. That's really the best part. But the hauling, I'm souring on the hauling. What if I built something really, really morbid from the bones?
What if we had a mausoleum that's the size of the tower in Pisa? And it's just bones. And inside is just bodies that then become bones. And then you take those bones, make a taller mausoleum.
This idea pays for itself almost immediately.
Absolutely. It's so simple. So he was traveling on his wagon one day, and he comes across a settler who was grieving his wife and his newborn child, who had both just died. And there was no lumber available because this is fucking the plains of Kansas. There are no trees.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So but he's got bones. So Edgar makes him a coffin out of his own wagon.
Oh no! This is again kind of a gift of the Magi type thing. I'm not to. It's been a few episodes.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while since we've owed Henry something. But
and now I am grieving because I don't know what the fuck to do with 2,000 pounds of bones that were in the wagon.
I was going to give them to your baby to gnaw on, to teeth, and now your baby's gone. But
your baby's gone. How inconvenient for me.
So it makes him a coffin out of the wagon, and he makes a coffin, and he looks at it, and he thinks, huh.
That was easy.
I'm pretty good at this. Yeah. This could be something. This could be something.
Yeah. What is everybody in Kansas doing right now? Dying.
Ding. Light bulb.
You got the captive audience, right? I mean, not a whole lot of competition, and people get pretty loose with the spendy spree.
Oh man. So in 1881, the Butterworths move all the way west.
Oh.
To Washington State.
Oh wow. Goodness.
So, which I don't that trip that's not easy. It's not easy now. It's definitely not easy then.
Straight up and then straight down. Correct. For like a week.
And cold, and you're eating half of the people you're traveling with, if I remember my history.
And you're like, man, I wish I would have brought some of the meat from the bones. Honestly. Like, why did I leave it? I still brought the bones.
Turns out I was in paradise. We could make so much broth.
Yeah.
So much broth. And now we have no broth. What a waste. So he went there thinking he would be a cattleman there. Now, I don't know what I don't know why. Like if he's doing a job that, whatever. I mean, I assume he's like, Kansas sucks. We have to go.
Right. The only thing I like doing here is making boxes for the people that die here. It's creeping me out.
I'm starting to think that maybe I need to change the scenery.
Yeah.
So he goes to Washington thinking he could be a cattleman there, but he gets there, and then once he's there, realizes that there's no cattle because, I don't know if you know this, but no one is driving cattle at this point over the fucking Cascade Mountain.
Right, yeah. That's not a real efficient way to get him over there. You pretty much just want to start him over there and then just let him.
You want to bring like a cow egg over there. You grow one cow and then you hope it multiplies. It lays more eggs and then you have it. And part of me wonders, I think we talked about this before, if you're in the 1800s, obviously there's no like video, there's no, the multimedia is not a big thing. If you hear stories about the Rocky Mountains, you're probably like, oh, those are pretty big mountains. But I'm joking. But then once you even today, like once you see the Rockies, you're like, holy shit, I don't know what this is. This is the North Wall in Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Like I'm stunned when I see them, and I'm in a car that easily ascends and descends them. Can you imagine if you're like dragging all of the shit you own on your fucking back, and you're like, okay, what is that? 2 miles straight up and then straight back down? All right, fine.
It's like I'm in a plane. I'm going over them. I'm so much higher than them, and I'm looking down at them. And Jesus Christ, those are huge mountains.
You're standing there with your cousin Jethro, like, just set the couch down for a second. Just I need to think about this for a minute. I don't know if we want to go over that.
Well, for reference, I keep looking. So we're in the we're now between the Blue Ridge and the Alleghenies, and you can see them both, from our place, and they're big mountains. Like we drive up in them, and they're big. So every once in a while I look up at what's like an average elevation of the Blue Ridge Mountains, and it's something like 4,000 feet or 3,000 feet, which is a lot
big
because I'm seeing them up. It's fucking huge. I can tell you with my eyes that's a lot. But then you look at the Rockies and it's like, these are 12,000 feet. These are 13,000, 14,000. It's just unbelievable. So I don't fault him too much for thinking cattle might be over these mountains.
Sure. Yeah.
But
it does make a lot of sense why the city of Denver exists, though.
It's like, for sure.
Oh, psych.
You know what? Ocean. I don't even like oceans.
Yeah.
We'll just stop here. This is fine. So there's no cattle industry, so that's not ideal for him. He's gonna switch gears again.
Yeah. He has two other skills, right? He's been building up two other skill trees this whole time, right? So just pivot, right?
Yeah, he's going to pivot. He's going to do that. But he's not going to rely on one of his two skills of bone gathering or coffin building. He's going to build the first ever steam-powered flour mill west of the Cascades.
Okay, maybe he was a hatter for too long. I think this is...
I don't know, but I feel like this is kind of like when Aaron and I started the coffee roastery. It's like, let's just roast coffee now.
Sure. I like doing this thing.
So I
Let's
can
do it
empathize with
professionally.
that. Yeah. I've never done this before. Let's make a business out of it. So I get it. So he does that. The next spring, the Butterworths moved to Centerville, which you might know now as Centralia.
Okay.
So you go to Centralia, and there Edgar sets up a small furniture business for the living, I should say.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Just to clarify, yeah. And in Centralia / Centerville, he serves as a member of the first city council of Centralia. Then he becomes the mayor of Centralia.
Okay.
And then he serves 2 terms in the state legislature.
What an exciting time to be alive.
You could do anything.
You literally show up in town and they say, hey, what's your name? Fake name. Oh, what do you do for a living? Fake occupation. Do you have experience doing that?
Do you want to own us?
Yes,
I
do.
You want to run everything that we do?
You seem to have survived for longer than the average person. You must know what you're doing.
It's amazing. It's really amazing. So he just takes over this part of the state. Now, so he's serving in the state legislature, and during that time, an epidemic of black diphtheria.
Oh, fuck!
It's the region.
That's just, I don't even really want to know. Oh, I think if I showed up at a concert and they were like, and now the opening act, black diphtheria, I would put in a
great metal.
I would put in a mouth guard and a helmet and get ready to get fucked up.
Catcher pads everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Body. Oh my God, black diphtheria. Do I want to know?
It's the name actually is worse than the diagnosis in this one specific case, but not much worse. Here's a quote. It refers to a gray to black coating that can appear in the throat, nose, or airway of someone infected with diphtheria.
Boring. They wasted it.
This coating, also known as a pseudomembrane, is made up of bacteria and dead cells and can block airways, making it difficult to breathe or swallow.
So you choke on your own dead cells.
Isn't that ironic?
All right. Okay. All right.
Those cells are taking you with them. Yeah, for sure.
I'm back on the black diphtheria chain. That's fine.
Great. So black diphtheria hits the region, and it's ripping through the population, and this is not a time of medicine, and One thing leads to another, yada, yada, yada. Suddenly, there is a very urgent need for coffins.
Where before we turn our swords into plowshares, now we turn our futons into coffins.
It's economical. Reduce, reuse, recycle is our motto. Now, this is, quote, which is the point at which he effectively entered the undertaking business.
Oh, no. What?
He knows how to make coffins.
Sure. Why wouldn't he know how to suck the blood out of people? I mean, well, okay, that's probably a connection most of us would make. That's fair.
He's not a vampire.
But you could sell it, You
sell
could,
what?
As if they're like, oh, well, what are your credentials as an undertaker? Well, I make coffins for a living. Okay, fine, creep. That's fine. Yeah. You can suck the juices out of people then, I guess.
I don't. Oh, you're saying as an undertaker you should suck the blood out. Yeah. I thought you were suggesting that maybe you could cure diphtheria by sucking the blood out of someone. And I had a lot of questions.
Absolutely not. That's the first rule of undertaking is you do not actually suck the juices out of the people. You want to use a steam-powered pump and just.
This is the city slickers rule. You don't suck anything out of anyone.
Not in those days.
Okay. All right. So he becomes the undertaker because no one else knows how to make a coffin. Now I don't know how skilled he is at the other aspects of undertaking, but he makes a mean coffin and they need those. Mm-hmm. So he becomes the undertaker and this makes him pretty wealthy.
Sure.
He's got it's a cornered market. Mm-hmm. And in 1892, Edgar Butterworth moves the family again. This time they move to the big show. They go to Seattle.
Wow. There's a lot of moving around.
Yeah, it's weird that someone who is interested in undertaking and death and making money off of that would find himself needing to move around a lot. So he buys a controlling stake in a company called Cross and Company. Mm-hmm. Sorry, Cross and Company Undertakers.
Okay.
Weird line break. Yeah, that's better. That makes more sense. Cross and Company Undertakers, which stood on the northeast corner of 2nd Avenue and Pike Street. Mm-hmm. So this is you've been to Seattle, obviously. We've been there together. So you will know this is it's close to the Pike Market.
Yeah. Pike's Place Market.
Pike's Place Market. Mm-hmm. So that's where they are. So now that Edgar owns a controlling stake, he renames the company and he calls it E.R. Butterworth and Sons.
But nothing about the undertaking.
No. It's implied.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I guess you move into the neighborhood, you want to kind of stay on the down low about what you're doing behind the scenes. Like, a new business movie in town. Oh, is it a coffee shop? I'm not sure what it is.
Let's go check it out.
It just says Butterworth. It sounds delicious.
What do you do here? Hold on 1 second. Let me check your pulse. Let me check your eyes.
Yeah, Are you feeling fine? Yeah. Is that a dark roast? Yeah, that's that is a dark roast we got going right now.
It's so dark, so dark.
Yeah, so.
So he renames it, and he has at this point he has 5 sons.
Okay.
Or I think maybe more, because 5 of his sons join him in this business. So maybe he has more.
Wow.
He's got kids. He's got kids.
Yeah.
This dude loves to fuck. And 5 of his sons join him in the business. And those sons are Gilbert, the OG.
Of course, yeah.
Charles, Frederick, Harry, and Benjamin. Now they go on as a family to be very successful. Mm-hmm. By the end of the 1920s, E.R. Butterworth and Sons was already the longest running single family held funerary business in Seattle.
Whew. Wow. Put that in the brochure.
Seems easy. Yeah. But it remained in the Butterworth family until 1998.
Wow.
So
which of his sons fucked that up?
Well, let's see if we can find out. So the business is doing really well. As business grows, so does the need for space. So they moved buildings several times. Mm-hmm. And in 1903, they land in the building that we are going to focus on for this story. 1921 First Avenue, which is just about 1 block away from Pike Place Market.
Oh, wow. Okay. Near the original Starbucks as well.
It's actually, it butts up behind the original Starbucks. It's like
really
exactly behind the original Starbucks.
I know exactly where this building is.
We must have seen this building.
We had to walk past it like 3 times on that trip easily.
Mm-hmm. So that's where the building is. Does Gloria think that if she walks quickly, that's...
Oh, Jesus Christ.
It is the best.
Woo.
Hello, goddaughter. Love you.
Oh my God. Yeah. For anybody not watching the YouTube, you can just fast forward to, I don't know, what's this, 40-ish minutes and watch me poop my pants. Oh.
I'm sorry. I forgot that you don't see the view that I see.
Yeah, I'm focusing on your camera feed, obviously, not my own. I have matured after 100 and God knows how many episodes to not watch my own video.
Outstanding.
Oh.
Go subscribe to YouTube, friends. It's worth it.
Anyway, where were we?
Anyway, do you need to go change your clothes or anything? Are you okay?
No, it's fine. I can write it out.
Okay, great. So they're in 1921 First Avenue, just behind the Starbucks. And they call this building the Butterworth Block. And this is Seattle's first custom-built modern mortuary.
Ooh.
Before this, they're just putting bodies in fucking fish houses or whatever. Yeah.
Just got a few slits in the floor and let it drain out to the sea, and that's... And
then you catch fish in that sea and you eat them. It's circle of life. Circle of life.
Exactly.
Ugh. But it's actually a pretty good building as far as mortuaries go. It's pretty forward thinking for the time. It was the first building on the entire West Coast that had an elevator.
Oh, okay. That seems pretty important for a mortuary. Right?
Yes, I mean that's key. So So the way it worked is they would roll in the bodies from the alley, straight to the elevator and then down. Yes, so the alley and the alley actually is the alley with the famous gum wall.
Oh, yes,
gum wall?
Yeah, I remember the gum wall. Yes.
Yeah, and I think their door for this building is actually like right next to the gum wall.
Oh, interesting.
So we definitely have had. We may have actually gone into this building. I don't remember, but it's entirely possible.
We tried a lot of doors in the Gumwall alley, and some were open and some weren't. Oh.
Yeah. So this was first building on the West Coast to have an elevator. It's full of stained mahogany and art glass. There's ornamental plaster.
Very tasteful.
It's brass and bronze hardware. It's quite tasteful. It also, of course, has a body storage room. But this body storage room is fireproof.
Oh,
which is new for the time because usually, again, they're using like repurposed buildings to store bodies.
Okay, sure. Yeah. But I mean, fireproof.
Yeah. What if you don't want your loved one to be cremated?
Oh, I see. Okay. I'm thinking to myself, okay, if this building burns down,
yeah,
I don't want to be like, is my dead husband okay? I mean, it doesn't really matter at that point, right? It's.
I mean, it might. I mean, presumably at that point, maybe several other people have died, and that is tragic. But I think, like, you know, Ron didn't want to go out like that.
Yeah.
Now, Ron, how's Ron doing?
Who has already gone out, technically.
Yeah, you don't want to go out twice. That's right. I mean, insult to injury.
But yes, yeah. If they have the crematorium running as well. Fire safety probably pretty important.
I think that's probably why it was, because otherwise it's like, why don't you make the whole building fireproof? Maybe
why don't they make the whole building out of the black box?
What if the waiting room is fireproof? That sounds good. So I assume it's to keep the cremation in the cremation room. Now, the basement is accessible indeed through Post Alley, which is home of the famous gum mall. Here, I'm going to show you some photos of this building. I'm going to show you a photo that is contemporary to the time, and then I'll show you a photo of what it looks like now. If I can make this work, and yes, I can. So here is So it's this building right here.
Okay, with the fake horses in front.
I think those are real.
Boy, those look
horses.
fake. Those look so fucking fake. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, these are like 1918 horses. That's just how they were. They were
Were they
poised, they were
two-dimensional? And
professionals.
I don't
They
think
were
that's correct.
two-dimensional.
Yeah.
They were drawings of horses, and that's how you knew they were real.
They look like very tasteful stickers of horses that were added to the photo later.
This could be an early Photoshop. It's not impossible.
It could be. Yes. Okay.
God,
Yeah.
these old hearses are amazing.
Oh man, I would kill to be taken out in a hearse like that. Just
I tell you what, man.
Have those two show ponies drag me down to I-270 in the middle of rush hour,
Just glass on all four walls.
cooking in the sun. Oh,
it's amazing.
oh! I want you to take all of the money I have left when I die and spend it on the stupidest funeral I possibly.
Wait, I thought you wanted us to flush you down a toilet.
I've changed my mind. It has been a long
7-Eleven,
podcast. I've changed my mind. I want this one now.
Wait, let me text Amy. Hold on a second.
And I want all those weird guys with scimitars following the hearse. I don't know what their job is. I
that
want
is
them
cool.
involved too.
Where do you even
Yes.
get these swords? I don't know, but
And so many.
that's cool. That's a
Yeah.
cool fucking funeral.
Yeah.
I don't know, you want to be buried? I want to be cremated or maybe shot into space
Yeah.
is my actual ideal, or turn into mulch. But I think before you do that, I would love to be carted around in this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. So that's what it looked like then. Here's what it looks like now.
I guess.
Like
a firehouse now. Yeah.
It's very Ghostbusters headquarters. Yeah, for sure.
Typical for Seattle, it is currently raining in the photo, which is great. It means like they waited to take the
Perfect.
photo until it wasn't raining, and eventually they're like, "Fuck it, just take the photo anyway." It
Just say,
doesn't matter.
It's a blog. Who cares? But it's very well preserved, as you can see.
Absolutely, yeah. Beautiful building. Beautiful building.
So that is it. So that is the block, as they say. Let's see. So it had a coffin showroom, had a private reception area,
Mhm.
also had a consulting room. It's perfect for when people die. Just great. Now, it was really important to Edgar that they could serve anyone, regardless of social or economic status. So he had
Mhm.
coffins that ranged in price from $25 all the way up to $200, which I think is good.
Yeah. Very fair.
Yeah.
Equitable.
Yes. Yeah, the initial DEI hire, for sure. And he was also known to sometimes, and actually with regularity, I think, to forgive the debts of people who weren't able to pay for the services.
I think that's nice. Also, if you're making 200 bones off of a coffin, I think you can afford to have some freebies going out.
Yeah, and if you're a little short this year, you
Yeah.
just go kill some buffalo and you just drag a ton of their bones and you get $10. There's always ways to make money.
I can't afford the $25 coffin, but I do have 5,000 pounds of bison bones in the parking lot right now. Will you take them in trade?
Sold. Done.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So the company's doing great. Edgar buys the first hearse north of the Columbia River.
I really
Before
question
that,
a lot of these
to the backs of horses and just dragged them through the dirt.
I really question some of these designations. Like, who is keeping track? Are the Guinness people around at this point?
Yeah,
I don't really understand.
They know. Come on, they know. Come on.
Like, as soon as you drag this hearse north of the river, do you like lean over to the kids and be like, "Hey kids, guess what? You are riding in the first hearse."
I am. Yeah, sorry. You're also dead.
Yeah.
I hate to be the one to tell you. It was terrible and tragic.
So,
You're very young, but
it's not technically a hearse until one of us is hearse worthy, let's say. So if we want to set the record, one of y'all is going to have to. I have some straws here in my hand. Please
right now it's a glass wagon, but I think with a little help, it can be a hearse.
I heard you coughing earlier. Actually, very suspicious. Maybe you should draw the straws last, and we'll just decide.
So he's doing great. He also is often credited as the likely coiner of the terms mortuary and mortician.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which then makes him responsible for the name of Morticia Adams.
Oh, my gosh.
Which is pretty good.
If he could
So he's a big
fast,
deal.
If he could only fast forward about 75 years, he would have been swimming in it. Know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I do. Oh man. And gosh, I don't have my wham here. Do you want to do a wham?
No, I don't.
Fun fact.
Wham!
He also helped organize the Seattle lodges of the Independent Order of Oddfellows.
Oh, thank goodness. They have returned.
For 10 iTag points, Patrick, do you remember which episode we discussed the Oddfellows?
Absolutely not. But it was one of my favorite episodes.
Was it? Sounds like it.
My goodness. God, I love the Oddfellows.
That was episode 53, Belvoir Winery, which we recorded live at Pickney Bend Distillery.
Ah, okay. I'm about in the same state I was in when we recorded that, so I'm surprised I didn't remember it.
Mm-hmm. But of course, even undertakers must eventually be undertook. I think is how you say that. And poor Edgar R. Butterworth dies on January 1st, 1921.
Whew. Man, what a rich life. He did literally all of the jobs.
All of them. Every single thing you could do
he was
in that time frame.
On the East Coast, he did every job there was all the way out to Seattle. And then poetically ended his life, as a mortician. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful story.
He did it. He did it. He lived the dream.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. I would love to see Timothée Chalamet represent him in film someday. I really would.
So you think Edgar Butterworth is a small wee
foppish.
Man
with, very foppish.
Slight bones.
Yeah.
Chalamet is not carrying a ton of bison bones.
But I want to see it. I want to see it. That's all I want to see in this whole movie. That's the montage I want.
It's him rolling up his sleeves and looking so tired and dirty, but so determined. He's gonna get there.
From Dune, dragon bones. 6 solid
but
minutes.
You must drag them in an irregular way.
Yeah.
Or else the worms of the plains will hear you.
So as not to summon Shai Halud.
So he died. Sometimes
real dorky.
Real dorky. Real Doug Emhoff energy here on this episode today. And I celebrate that. A couple years later, then the family, so again, there were 5 sons who took over the business. Family moves the business out of the Butterworth building and they move it somewhere else.
Yeah, for some suburb for tax breaks. I'm familiar.
Yeah, you get it.
Sure, yeah.
They moved it into the ocean because you can't tax us if we're on maritime tax law. So while it was a mortuary, obviously there were dead people coming through all the time, and most of those people had died of natural causes. A lot of them had disease.
Sure, like black diphtheria, of course.
That ripped through a couple times, I think. As we've learned on this podcast, disease can be good fodder for making ghosts. It's not the best, but it can be.
It's not murder.
Not murder. So which brings us to the early 1900s, when Edgar was still alive. There was a doctor in Seattle named Dr. Linda Hazard.
Really?
I don't know if there has ever in the history of humanity been a more appropriate name for a human being on the planet than Dr. Hazard. So here's a picture of her.
Oh, so it's not great that this is a mugshot, right? For the rest of the story?
Yes, I'm glad you picked up on that. Yeah. Yes, that's really key.
And a little smug too. I would call this a smug shot. Really, she's not ashamed of whatever she's done.
No, she's gonna put this on a t-shirt and say "fight, fight, fight."
Yeah.
I think is what's gonna happen soon here, for sure. So that's Dr. Hazard, and boy was she. So Dr. Hazard was a licensed, quote, fasting specialist.
Okay, this seems like a bit of leech work to me. Is it similar to leech work?
It's not too dissimilar. uh, in the sense that she thought you could cure diseases with starvation.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, yeah, fine. Yeah,
sure.
makes sense. Yeah, great. I'm glad you're on board. Okay, cool. In 1908, she publishes a book called Fasting for the Cure of Disease.
Oh, okay.
Her patients were allowed to have 1 bowl of vegetable broth each day.
It's fair.
And of sustenance.
Oh, okay.
But they were also given up to 3 enemas.
Oh no!
Per day.
Oh man!
Well, you want to drive out disease in the body.
What is there to enema after the second one? I mean,
that's the whole point. You're gonna get out all that disease, and eventually it's all gone.
No, those are all my humors. Get them back. I'm not sure what humors come out the anus, but they're got to be critical.
I mean, it could be all of them. Play your cards right. So they're eating 1 bowl of broth a day, and they're getting up to 3 enemas a day. So it may be shocking to hear this, but quite a few of her patients ended up in the Butterworth mortuary. And as a side note, Linda Hazard has one of the best Wikipedia pages I have ever seen. I encourage you all to go look it up. At the time of this recording, at least, here is a first sentence. Linda Laura Hazard, nicknamed the Starvation Doctor, was an American quack, swindler, and convicted serial killer, noted for her promotion of fasting, pummeling, and hours-long enemas as treatments.
Hours-long enema. That's, again, if that band is opening for Black Diphtheria.
That's a time, man. that is a time.
That is a bill right there, man.
You tell Amy to get the stretcher ready because you're coming home late.
Oh my God. Man. Although, frankly, the Starvation Doctor probably makes for a pretty quick undertaking. Like the mortician's like, there's not a lot for me to do here. This is
you've taken all the fluids actually, so that is helpful.
This is just bag 'em and tag 'em work here. This is not difficult. This is
put a pin in that because we're gonna talk about a version of that pretty quickly here. So in 1911, Dr. Hazard was found guilty of manslaughter for killing at least, and that is emphasized, at least 15 people.
Oh no.
She was released, but she was released on parole after 2 years.
Honest mistake. I'm going to write a new book. I have a new book coming out. It's called 2 Bowls of Broth and 1 Enema. That's the name.
The enema equation is what they're calling that one. So she's released on parole 2 years, but in 1916, the governor of Washington State, he decides he's going to give her a full pardon.
Oh, okay.
But on one condition. That condition is she moves to New Zealand.
I like this. Okay.
It's very good.
Yeah.
Look, listen, we can be cool here, but you've got to go to New Zealand and never come back.
New Zealand is such a spin the globe and stab your finger into it type location too.
It's like if we send her to Australia, that's too obvious. People will be like, "Oh, you're just doing what they used to do here in this country, send prisoners to Australia."
Yeah.
What's different than that? Oh, no, New Zealand. So that's what happened. So she goes to New Zealand and she lives a free person there. And here's a banger sentence from that Wikipedia page. Hazard died at 70 after subjecting herself to her treatment methods.
Oh no.
So
healer, heal thyself. I am afraid.
And once again, I do recommend every single person listening go and find Dr. Linda Hazard's Wikipedia page. It is real great. And one little coda on Dr. Hazard's story. When she was convicted of the crime, so Butterworth and Sons was implicated in some of the deaths. Quote, because they had cremated one of her victims and then produced a different and less emaciated body for the funeral.
Who we gotten back? You got that one. Yeah, bring that one guy out.
Too fat.
Yeah.
Nah, too skinny. Who we got?
Yeah.
Nothing ever came of that for them, so they never officially did anything wrong, but it's not a good look. Also, there were rumors, and I will say there were rumors that Butterworth and Sons would sometimes bury empty coffins because they had sold the bodies.
Oh, that's not great. I mean, but again, if you want to tie it all back in, how many dollars per bone is he getting for these bodies?
And if the bone has some meat on it, I mean, that's probably fine, right? Actually, so I was this week has been full of welcome back to campus meetings for my school, and for me it's my first week at this school.
Weird segue, but yeah, let's go. Yeah, sure.
Well, you'll understand in a second. So I was in a meeting yesterday, and like before the meeting started, it was like small subgroups. Like we broke out into so there was like 10 people in this meeting in this room, and while we were waiting for everyone to show up, people were just doing a small talk, and one of the small talk topics was so we have a school called Murphy Deming, which is they have like nursing programs, and they're starting maybe a PA program soon, and
cool
medical stuff, obviously not doctors, but
like your sister and my sister.
Correct.
Cool.
Yep.
Right.
Actually, they already offered my sister a job. They've never met her. I just told them that she's a PA in St. Louis, and they're like, "Does she want a job?"
Does she like mountains? We have several.
So if Kelly's looking to move to Virginia, actually, I think I genuinely think I could get her a job teaching if that's interesting to her. So let me know. But they were people from Murphy Deming talking, and one of them was like, oh God, we're budget issues, and of course we're all making sacrifices, but one of the biggest things that hit us is we're having a hard time getting cadavers now. And someone else is like, oh, hard time with cadavers, like how hard is it? He's like, you can't find any, you can't get them. And the other person's like, well, what if we give you more money? Like you can buy a cadaver, right? Like they're expensive. He's like, well, they cost about $6,000, but it's not like the prices will fluctuate like a free market. It's just there's just not enough cadavers. And they were like, the person was like, but like if you had a bigger budget, you could get cadavers, right? And the guy's like, no, it's not really how it works. Like it's just we have money to buy cadavers for that. We just don't. There's not. And this person was like, but like, should we talk about increasing the budget because like surely you could outbid someone for cadaver.
Let's take this conversation offline. Like this is
and I am just sitting there just in love with this place.
Treat like the spot buy market. Like if I really need cadmium right now, if I outbid this guy for cadmium, I can get it. Right. But at some point there's not enough dead bodies to satisfy everybody.
Okay, wink, but like how much?
Right, but
so the idea of selling dead bodies, I mean, makes a lot of sense. There's $6,000 to be made, or if you talk to the right person, way more than that.
Yeah, there's like 6 billion people in the world. I'm sure we could find someone that is dead right now? ?
Oh man. So anyway, where are we here? So Dr. Hazard,
we're talking about creating cadavers from
creating and selling cadavers. Okay, so good. So after the mortuary moves out of this building that we're talking about, that building eventually passes down the hands through the years. In 1983, it becomes a bar called Kells Irish Pub.
Okay.
Which is why I think it's not impossible that we went there, because it has beer.
Sounds super familiar, and it was right next to our Airbnb. So I'm willing to bet.
So I'm pretty sure we probably went here. Now the pub is in the basement of this building, which is where the embalming room and the crematorium had been.
Yep.
Ownership of the bar has changed over the years, but it's still Kells Irish Pub, has always been for its pub existence. Every single person who has owned this bar swears it is haunted. Glasses are knocked off counters by invisible hands. Mirrors will sometimes shatter for no reason. And there's a voice of a woman that can be heard shouting through the building with no apparent source.
So it's only like half the pubs in the world, is what it sounds like. Yeah.
It's really unintelligible. It must be a ghost,
Yeah.
right?
There's an unintelligible woman screaming in the basement. Yeah, that's got to be a ghost.
Ghost. Don't call the police. On All Saints Day in 2005, Karen McAleese, I think so you pronounce it.
Sure.
She's the sister of the owner. She saw a tall man in a suit jacket walking toward the end of the bar, and she was watching him as he walked, and he just faded into thin air.
Ooh.
Sometimes patrons of the pub will feel something pull on their pant legs, and they look under the table to see a small red-haired girl smiling up at them, who then usually promptly disappears.
Oof.
The going theory on that ghost is that she is a girl who died in the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic. She also likes to play with other children. So if you bring kids, they might find a little red-haired girl to play with who is dead.
I mean, honestly, if I'm bringing a kid to a bar, I really don't care who they're playing with. I really don't.
Please,
I mean,
please knock yourself out. Yeah. It's fine. Yeah, ghosts are real. Who cares?
Hey, you made a new friend? Oh, she's wearing a bonnet? That's weird. Whatever. I don't care.
Don't pull the ribbon around her neck. Don't do that. But otherwise,
she has a lot of stitches. Yeah, that's fine. It doesn't matter.
Those are cosmetic. It's fine. There's also Charlie, a middle-aged man who likes to show up when bands play in the pub. He is apparently a very happy spirit who dances around the room for a while.
Mm-hmm.
When the music ends, he disappears. There is also the ghost of a man who appears in the mirror on the back wall. He only appears in the mirror as if he's sitting at the table with you. But of course, if you look, there's no one else at your table.
Right. Yeah.
Very
haunted mansion. Yeah.
Yeah. All the good ideas are taken.
Yeah.
One night, the owner's mother fell down a flight of stairs in the building, which was obviously harrowing. Yeah. Call the ambulance. They check her out. They take her to the hospital. She's okay. When she's asked about it, she swears and has always sworn to this day that she had been pushed from behind.
Ooh.
And the show Ghost Adventures did an episode at Kells. Their EVP machine supposedly picked up sounds of people saying, "Get me out of here. Do something quicker." And "Get us hazard." Maybe it's true. Probably sounds like. And they're like, "Oh my God, it's a ghost." I feel like I should also note that I watched clips of this episode for research because this is a real show.
Yeah.
During the episode, one of the ghost hunters picks a piece of gum off the gum wall and chews it.
Oh no!
So I don't think that we should really take what they say as as meaningful. It's so fucking gross. But according to a shaman who once visited the pub, there are 19 fully formed ghosts there who haunt the building now.
Man,
it's a lot of ghosts.
Shaman confirmed.
If you're gonna believe anyone, you gotta believe a shaman.
Yeah, I mean, what do they have to gain by this?
Yeah, they don't need your money or food or
Yeah.
they don't need to pay their bills.
Yeah, they don't have like a Twitch channel or something like that. That's not their game.
They love their OnlyFans channel. They don't need you. They can do it all on OnlyFans. That's
I'm doing
fine.
This for art. I'm doing this for art. I don't need your $4.99 a month. I really don't.
So that's the story. If you want to go check out the 19 ghosts of the Kells Irish Pub, you should. You absolutely should. Seattle is a great city.
Oh, it's the hub of the city right there. Pike's Place.
Oh man,
my goodness.
Seattle is a blast. What a great town. And that's the story of Kells Irish Pub. Patrick, what are your thoughts? What do you think?
We should probably go back. I really think we should.
For this specifically?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
God, it's a great town. I think once we hit all the baseball stadiums, we should just do a highlights tour.
We should go back to the good ones.
Yeah.
Seattle, good one.
Denver,
good one.
Yeah. San Diego, you didn't get to, but
I did not. Yeah.
Tell you what, good one.
So, yeah, I would head back here.
You'll figure it out. All right. Well, that is the story for this week. Thank you all so much for listening. All the notes this week were taken by me, Clayton Smith. All the funny jokes were from Patrick Dean. Our video editor is Jen Swanson. Our audio editor is Jeremy Montoya. Our social media manager is Kai Valonis. And we've had a blast. If you like this, you can go check out Ghost Plus. You can get even more of this sort of thing for not very much money. It's pretty cheap, really. Pretty cheap. Think so?
Like less than the cost of 2,000 pounds of bison bones. Can you imagine?
Oh my God, way less.
Yeah. Like, but I swear to fucking God, if you try to pay us in 2,000 pounds of bison bones,
we will accept. All right, we will see you next week. In the meantime, stay out of gum walls and do not chew the gum from those walls, because if you do, it's almost certain that we will talk about you next week on Is This a Ghost? Hey, you big chud. How's that toilet?
Oh, it's going.
Yeah, it is.
I was in the gas station today. I'm getting some really weird looks. I was like, man, these people are very strange. I feel like a very middle of the road type guy. And I look down and I realize I'm wearing like short black gym shorts, flip flops, and a Chud Justice shirt. And I was like, I guess I'm lucky I didn't cut the sleeves off this one yet. But
yet is the important part of that.
Yeah.
Phrase. Yeah. Well, I can't help it. The people in Missouri are prudes. They should be celebrating. Is that a Heidelberg cup?
Oh my gosh, is it ever?
Oh,
The Boig.
Oh man, I wish I had kept a Heidelberg cup.
We have a stack of Heidelberg, Shakespeare, and Llewellyn's cups.
Oh man.
Mm-hmm.
I have not been back to Columbia since you and I were there together in 2005 on our way to California.
Really?
Yeah.
That was the last time we were in Columbia.
Yeah.
My goodness.
It's been a long
20
time.
years.
I know. I gotta go back. Mm-hmm. Need some Shakespeare's, need some CJ's Bifo hot wings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, throw it behind McNasty's.
Absolutely. I may have to now force myself to do it, but it's the spirit of the act that really counts, I think.
This happens at 2:00 in the afternoon, by the way. This is
yeah. If you squint at your watch, it's like 2 o'clock is the same AM or PM.
Mm-hmm.
So you can just pretend it's 2 AM.
Yeah.
Even though it's secretly 2 PM. And it's the same.
Life hack: if you show up at a bar at 10 o'clock in the morning, it is half price drinks. And happy hour thing starts just after breakfast.
Oh man, happy hour! What an invention! Remember when they couldn't do happy hour in Chicago for a long time because there was some. I think right around the time we moved to Chicago, there was some kid, unfortunately, and this is a very sad story, but he was he got a little loaded on happy hour and then got in his car and drove home and got into a very bad accident and died.
Right.
The only thing is, which unfortunately does happen. Except this kid was the son of a lawmaker for the state. State or city? I don't remember what. And so then suddenly, happy hour was outlawed for like 8 years.
I do remember there being like weird restrictions on like drink specials. Like there were no drink specials allowed in Chicago. I was like, what?
That's why.
Yeah, interesting. I always thought Chicago just sucked.
Okay, Donald Trump.
drink special wise. One little sliver of the spectrum here. Drink special wise, not a great city.
Yeah, those specials really took 20 bullets this weekend or whatever. Whatever is it JD Vance's I'm mad about. Missing the DNC, by the way.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want to just live cast it, like live blog it or whatever?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. This could be a DNC podcast for sure. Well, go ahead.
No, I would say it'd be so scary if you and I were watching the DNC and like an actual ghost showed up.
Funny you mentioned that because tonight's speaker is Bill Clinton. And I'm not convinced that he's actually still alive. I can hear Aaron watching it through, and I don't think it's getting picked up, which is good, but I can hear it. And right before we started recording, they announced the surprise guest for tonight is Oprah Winfrey.
Oh,
and
wow.
But we're locked in our little studios. That's fine.
How many people, as soon as they announced that it's Oprah Winfrey, how many people instinctively reached under their seat to check.
just in case.
I just, I don't want to be the idiot who like leaves an iPhone underneath of my seat when
Absolutely.
I could have had
know
one.
it's my couch, 700 miles away from Chicago, but there's always a chance. If there is one person on the planet who could pull that off, it is Oprah. So you got to check. Okay.
No.
I
already checked mine.
Yeah, but we're not watching DNC. I bet Aaron's got 7 new iPhones out there right now. I've got nothing.